work. Oh, it says it's working. It says it's working. Is it working? Hi, Caroline. How are you? Happy Easter. Happy Easter. I'm not getting any of the your internet is slow messages. Am I pixelated like, am I potato quality? You'll have to let me know. Let me have a look. I'm going to have a look on my phone and see how it goes. Charlotte says, hello, I see it is like 280 pixels. Oh no, I am definitely potato quality. I'm so sorry. Hamsters are overfed by chocolate, says Elena. Oh dear. It doesn't even show up as being live on the channel as yet. Well, there's 18 of you here though, so maybe it is working. It says it's live. Oh, I've got an advert. I had as part of the creator package, I had 6 months of YouTube Premium for free, and it was really good. But it's £13 a month, so I was just like, oh, I don't know if I want to continue with that or not. And I haven't, and now I have to watch adverts. I'm just like, what is this? Why? So yeah. Caroline says, please like the stream, peeps. Yes, please do give it a thumbs up. It does make the world of difference. Laurel says, hello. How is the walking skirt? I keep saying it's a walking skirt. How is the Victorian skirt going? Because I know you're floor trolling today. Elena says, but I don't really mind the hamsters being overfed. Nicole says, hello. Jacob Clear says, there we go. Morning all. Hello. Connor L. Kent says, aloha. Need a head count. Who wants an Easter breakfast American style biscuit? I have never tried those, but sure. I have my giant egg that Mum bought me. And I think I said this on the last hangout, but look, it says actual size. And 1 egg and 8 truffles, which I am excited about. Very excited about. So, yeah. Joker Clear says, what's in it, lol? The mint, Lindor mint truffles. So 8 of those. That's not the actual size. And then egg that is that size, which I'm excited about. Mint chocolate as well. Mum bought it for me specifically because neither her or Dad like mint chocolate. So I will get all of that for myself. They each have an egg of their own as well, before anyone worries that I am not depriving my parents of food. Unique says, I'm currently baking a traditional Jamaican Easter bun myself. Ooh, that sounds yummy. Mum's had hot cross buns this morning, and we were planning on doing a roast dinner of some description this weekend, but then Dad did like a random roast dinner last week, midweek, which was delicious. We had roast pork with crackling and potatoes, and I wasn't expecting it at all. And I came up and it was just like, oh, this is such a special treat. So yeah, well, we're not doing one this weekend. Elena says, Google Fraser Minion egg. Would you like that one next year? What is this? Are you telling me about new chocolate that I need to know about? Probably ought not to know about it. What am I looking at? Where did it go? There it is. Fraser Mignon. Ooh. Ooh. No, I want to stay here. My internet. Oh, my phone is being so stupid. Well, they look fun. Charlotte says, I've been working on my first Vogue 8577, and those curves were quite the challenge to French seam. I'm now putting the outer and the lining together. Ooh, did you French seam the curves in the pockets, the pocket bands, because wow, I never do that. I pink them and then line it, and then nobody notices. I do French seam the side seams now. I didn't in that previous one. I just pinked it, but I do now French seam the side seams of the skirt. But the pocket, I will sometimes bind the very bottom edge of the pocket. That you could technically French seam the bottom edge, but the pocket bands, if you French seam those, that's impressive. Very impressive. Robin says, ooh, that looks absolutely disgusting. Don't risk it. Put it on one corner till I get there and I'll dispose of it for you. You are so selfless, Robin. That's really kind of you. But no. Nice try. Laurel says, it's coming along. My original draft using twine attached to a pivot point was a bit uneven, the twine stretch, and I've had to redo those parts. Ah. Elena says, it's chocolate overlord. Ooh, chocolate kitties. Oh, amazing. Cornell Kent says, American-style biscuits are like neutral or savoury scones. Put butter, jam, or gravy on them. I live to serve the boss. You know who. Is she a fan of the biscuits then? I like scones. I love cheese scones. Oh, cheese scones are good. Making me hungry now. Susan says, happy Easter. I don't mind YouTube adverts, but I haven't paid for a subscription to Hi TV to watch my Korean dramas. It was only $19 for the year. App not available in the UK, so had to cheat. Ah. No, I mean, that's the thing. Like, I pay for Netflix. Mum and Dad pay for Prime and Disney. I also pay for Now TV, but only when they're doing discounts. So my Now TV is £3 a month. And then within Prime, we have the Paramount subscription, because that's where Halo and things like that were, and Yellowstone. And I've just had an offer for Apple TV for 3 months for £4 per month, which I've paid for. But it goes up to £12 per month after that. And when you start adding all these things together, it's just like, this is like a Sky subscription used to be. So yeah, it gets really expensive. And it was really lovely having YouTube without adverts on it. I did very much enjoy that. And you also get the ability to pop your YouTube screen out on your phone and have it playing on your phone while you do other things, which you can't if you don't have that. And I hadn't realized, I thought that was a new thing that they'd done, and it's exclusive to YouTube subscription holders. But I'm sorry, £13 a month is really expensive when you have all these other subscriptions as well. So I'm watching adverts again. That's not the end of the world. They're not that bad, is how I get paid, so I'm not complaining. But yeah. Let's see. Charlotte says, yes, I've French seamed everything so far. Impressive. Very impressive. I cannot imagine trying to French seam those pocket bands. That I think would have sent me a little bit doolally. But yeah, I hope you're enjoying your 8577, because I think it's an absolutely gorgeous dress, having had, I've got like 15 of them. So I think we know I like that one. Joe Clear says, I could go for biscuits and gravies this morning, to be honest. I want a cheese scone now. Susan says, oops, new phone. I'm gin and pins. Have to change my settings. I did wonder, but hello. Elena says, getting everyone hungry is most achieved goal on the stream. Yes. Robin says, so my elaborate ruse hasn't worked. Darn it. Haha. Now, I'm sorry. It wasn't maybe like the most elaborate of ruses that you have tried. And also, I know better than to let you into this sewing room without giving you a thorough pat down up before you leave, because Laurel says, videos of Brits trying American biscuits and gravy are always fun. The dish is not visually appealing, so they're always skeptical. I've seen, I think, what biscuits and gravy look like. And yeah, I'm imagining now plain scones and gravy. And like American versions of gravy is very different to my version of gravy. Like my mum taught me to make gravy from scratch, not from granules. So the household as a whole is a little bit snobbish about gravy granules. I have no idea how American gravy is made. It always looks quite thick. So, yeah. Connell Kent says, I promise there will be cheese biscuits come September. I am going to have lost a bunch of weight, and then the rolling house of cheese is going to roll up, and I am going to just basically pile on that weight as we work our way around the Scottish Highlands, aren't I? I'm going to end up very chubby again. And I'm going to enjoy every minute of it. Mind you, we are going around the Scottish Highlands, and there is going to be some walking, if not a lot of walking involved. So maybe I won't. Maybe I'll walk all those calories off. Caroline says, I've just got dinner on the go. Ooh, what are you making? What are you making? Joker Clay says, good gravy for biscuits and gravy is usually made with cream or milk, as well as some gravy drippings and occasionally some chopped up sausage. See, that seems totally foreign to me. Totally foreign to me. So for us, you take the roasting pan and you get rid of all the fat that's left in the roasting pan. You kind of skim the fat off. And then you put flour in and you make a roux with the kind of like meat drippings and the little crusty bits of meat, the yummy bits that have come off of whatever joint you've been roasting. And then you add in the stock, hopefully homemade stock, but sometimes store-bought stock. We had lamb for Christmas this year, and we bought a can of, and it was a can which was novel to Mum and I, but we bought a can of lamb stock from the very fancy butchers come greengrocers, Harvey Brown's. And then you add salt and pepper if you need it, and any other flavorings, which usually a little bit of mustard in our house. And you add stock very slowly till it's the thickness that you like, and delicious. So yeah. Laurel says we have many types of gravy. See, the one that I'm thinking of the biscuits and gravy pictures that I've seen is really thick and gloopy. And I'm not saying that doesn't look appealing, but it's just not because gravy for me is quite runny, although I do prefer mine slightly thicker. I don't usually make my gravy as runny as Mum and Dad make their gravy. Connell Kent says, the boss says that there will be a lot of walking, and I'm thinking of signing up for a 10K to train. I'm going to need some hiking boots that have been broken in, aren't I? I'm going to I'm going to need to start practicing, because I'm fine walking on flat, but I don't think the Scottish Highlands are flat. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. Elena says, also, good gravy needs crusty bacon cubes. Ooh. See, we don't put those in ours, but that sounds delicious. Connell Kent says, that's how I make my turkey and beef gravies. Caroline says, roast chicken and porkies and all the veg. Mark has been out driving tanks this afternoon. Never use granules myself. I remember he was out driving tanks this afternoon. Is he back, or did he enjoy driving his tanks? And no, I've never used gravy granules, only because my granny would have refused to eat the entire meal if there was gravy on the table. So yeah, and Granny passed away when I was like 16, so 30 years ago. I'm aging myself there. 30 years ago she passed away. So yeah. Joker Clee says, we don't use powder except in the most extremely rare occasions. Otherwise, it's just pan drippings and some butter. Ooh, butter. Yummy. Uncle's here. Hello. Happy Easter. You too. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. There's 41 of you here. I'm genuinely surprised. And so far, so good for the sound and the quality of am I still a pixelated potato? Maybe that's a better look for me. Possibly. Robin says, you all can leave me in a cozy tea room with my knitting while you're off yomping the hills. Yeah, I might be staying with you depending on how my knees and hips are doing. We'll leave the young things to go do the yomping of hills. Flat walks, sure. I've been saving a few Scottish walks and things that I've seen. And some of them are like 5K, but they're flat. And I'm like, yeah, I could do that one. So I'll have to send you some to add to your itinerary. Laurie says, blurry, but wasn't going to complain, but you asked. No, thank you for letting me know, because we've been talking about this during the Patreon hangout as well. It is definitely, our internet hamsters have not been fed, and they are definitely not doing their job as fully as one would like. Susan says, I'm working on the Vogue 1550 view A+C, calls for about 2 meters of contrasting silky stuff, mainly for binding the facings. Going to go off pattern for that. Different look for me. Ooh. Yeah, no, I do. Like I look like a potato. It's very crunchy. In real life, it looks really clear and crisp. But no, it is definitely potato quality on here. I'm sorry. Let's have a look. Vogue 1550. Let's have a look. Vogue 1550. Ooh, nice. A Paco Peralta one, yeah? Even my internet's being a bit shonky. I like it. I love that hemline on the top. I think that's really interesting. Caroline says they loved it. Been back about half an hour. I use cornstarch or arrowroot for thickening the pan juices. Joys of gluten-free. Yes. Yeah, I made Mum buy cornstarch the other day for gravy, and she was just like, why? I was like, because it'll help thicken up the gravy. And she's like, but why? It's like, because it's finer than flour. But why? Elena says, but hamsters are in chocolate coma. Yes, the internet hamsters have been eating all of their body weight in Easter eggs and are just a little bit slow on the wheels today, I'm afraid. Laurie says, hubby seems to be going through a midlife crisis and blasting Guns N' Roses and AC/DC. Lol. Nice. Nothing wrong with that. I definitely notice it picks my mood up if I blast music very, very loudly, and it's usually like 90s and 80s and 90s pop, and then 70s disco. Laurel says, I once biked to a distillery on the Isle of Arran. After suffering through the uphill portion of the route, I was happily coasting downhill until I saw a flock of sheep on the road ahead. Oh no! Robin says, I'm team cornflour for gravy too. Con L. Kent says, cornstarch for thickening the lemon filling of my meringue pies. Ooh, not icing sugar. Interesting. I love hearing about other people's techniques for doing something, because it's just like, has that been passed down? Have you found that somewhere? Did somebody tell you to try this and you just have? And then, like, are we all going to try other people's like recommendations and see what we like? Yeah. What else? I'm gonna have a drink. I might have a truffle as well, although I have got my dinner to look forward to when we're finished with this, so maybe I will try and keep the truffle till after dinner. Just sit by it like osmosis and getting the yummy goodness by osmosis. Oh, itchy nose, sorry. Blah. So yes, I have much editing to do this evening and tomorrow. 3 videos to do. None of them are particularly long, but they've all got lots of drop-ins and stuff, which is usually the bit that takes the extra time. I've also got this week's Waffle to edit and upload, and I am going to get that done before the retreat as well. So hopefully that should be up for Friday for the main channel. We shall see. We shall see, because we might have another kind of moment of like, oh gosh, I don't want anyone to see this, and then just, yeah, we shall see. Con L. Kent says, we didn't have cable when I was a kid, so I watched a lot of PBS cooking shows. Picture little Con L. Kent sitting in the dark watching Julia Child like a deviant. Oh, I love it. I love it. Laurie says, we have a bicycle tour of the wineries at Niagara here, but I would need to call a cab after the second sampling and put my bike in its trunk. Yeah, no, I know that a bicycle of any description is going to be a bad idea for me. I am not good on them. When I try and look over, I'm not going to do it now because I've tweaked a muscle at the bottom of my skull there, like right there, and it's doing funny things when I look over my shoulder. But yeah, if I try and look over my shoulder when I'm riding a bike, the whole bike goes with me. I ended up in a bush, so I just don't get on bikes anymore. It's just safer for everybody if I walk or get public transport or drive now. I've been driving for 12 years 11 and a half years, 12 years in October, which is a long time for me. Susan says, hem is cut straight, sides cut at a 45-degree angle to make the shape. Can't understand why pattern calls for bias cut for trim on the front of the tops and sides of the trousers. I'm cutting it straight. Yeah. Why do they want bias if it's, odd. Elena says, for the past 2 days, I've been blasting 90s and 2000s blast pop, rap, and R&B, and sewing like my life depends on it. I'm not admitting that I have some problems. Jokingly says, yeah, only the city folks around here had cable. Some rich folks had satellite dishes, but most of us just had the old foil-wrapped rabbit ears. Lol. I remember when I used to go to my granddad's in Mallorca. They had an absolutely enormous satellite dish in the back garden, and we're talking like the diameter, no, the whole way across. Radius is half of it. Yeah, the whole way across of the satellite dish was this big. Bear in mind, I went to see my grandparents when I was 12, 13, 14, 15, so I was a little bit shorter and smaller than I am now, but my entire wingspan, so 5'8", basically, the diameter of this satellite dish was that big because they were in Menorca in Spain, and the only way of getting English TV was this giant satellite dish out the back. And I remember sitting and watching. There was one movie channel back then. That's the first time I ever saw Earth Girls Are Easy, the Jeff Goldblum, Jim Carrey film, which Gina Davis as well. I absolutely love that film. It is utterly ridiculous and probably not something that somebody the age that I was should have been watching, but it's one of my favorite films ever. I love Earth Girls Are Easy. I first saw that in Menorca on the giant satellite dish, which literally was huge. Absolutely huge. Jacob Clee says, I usually go for older country, 80s and 90s rock and pop, or some Swedish house music when I break out the music, except for Sundays when I go for country gospel. Most of the satellite dishes around here were likely over 10 feet across. Wow. Yeah. It's just, I remember in the UK, they were all the tiny little ones, and then the entire house had them. And we had we didn't have satellite when we didn't get Sky. We didn't have Sky ever until Mum and Dad got it out in Saudi, and then they got it when they came back. So we've only really had Sky for the last 10 years, I beg their pardon. Mum and Dad have been back 10 years this August. But yeah, before they left, we didn't ever have Sky at home. It was always terrestrial TV with the giant aerials. But I remember seeing the houses when all the Sky dishes started popping up and everybody had the Sky dish, which was all pointing the same way. Yeah. Elena says, at work we blast 80s radio, and now someone has wished 50s Finnish radio channel, and everyone is now dying. Oh no. I've really been enjoying, as you guys know, I've massively gotten into Taylor Swift's music, so I've been really enjoying that. Imagine Dragons, I really, really love Imagine Dragons, and Sabrina Carpenter. I've been enjoying a lot of her stuff, and it sounds very kind of 80s pop anyway, some of the stuff that's being done to those kind of stuff. So been enjoying that. Chapel Roan. But then I've also got things like Kate Bush and Bon Jovi and Rammstein on my favourites list. It's a very odd and eclectic mix, but I think that's most people's music taste tends to be quite eclectic, especially when you get to a certain point in your life. You've listened to a lot of music over the decades, and so yeah. But 70s disco is one of my favourites. 80s glam rock as well, and then 90s, yeah, I do like a lot of cheesy music. I like stuff that I can bop around and dance to, so yeah. Susan says, I'm off to see Red Hot Chili Peppers, Nirvana, Oasis, Fleetwood Mac, INXS and The Killers at a fake festival in the summer. Cool. The Killers is one of the 2 bands I've seen in concert. I saw The Killers once and Pendulum 3 times. And The Killers was at Royal Albert Hall, and we had front row. We weren't in the pit bit, but we had front row seats. And it was amazing. It was really, really cool. I enjoyed that. Joker Clee says, turns the beat around for Shan. Thank you. Laurie says, Dolly Parton has recorded a few remakes that are amazing. Ooh. Charlotte says, my music is Taylor Swift and Ed Sheeran at the moment. I love Ed Sheeran. My best friend absolutely despises Ed Sheeran. I really like his music. I have all of his albums, not the latest one. But I really like his music. Like, I enjoy listening to it, and I enjoy waffling along or singing at the top of my lungs in the car when I've got it on really loud. So yeah. Elena says, Sabrina sounds nice, but I can't understand a word of what she is singing. I will say for her, a couple of her songs, it's just like, what is that? Articulate, lady. But having listened to them in concert, can't understand a word she's saying. Having listened to the actual single, like the recorded single, it's slightly clearer. But I only now understand it because I looked up the lyrics, because I was just like, what is she saying? But I like pop. I like cheesy music. I just do. Oh, yeah. I also really like Panic at the Disco. And my best friend hates Panic at the Disco. I really like Panic at the Disco. Yeah. Joker Clee says, I missed Fleetwood Mac on their farewell tour when they came through, but that was because the seats were pushing $200 a piece. Oof, ouch. Susan says, saw Celeste Barber a couple of weeks ago. So funny. I have no idea who that is. Not a clue. Christine says, I never had any subscription TV, never felt the need to. Lol. I would be lost without Disney and Prime. And every now and again, Netflix brings out something that I'm just like, yep. But I could probably give up Netflix, but I don't think I could give up Prime or Disney. I like being able to watch my comfort movies on Disney, like all of my childhood animated, like The Little Mermaid. Although I do own The Little Mermaid on Prime. Theoretically, I'd own it, but I don't really own it, do I? Where did I get to with the chat? Laurie says, check out her version of What's Up and Shine puts chills down your spine. Ooh, I will have a look. Thank you. Fox says, hello, happy Easter to you too, lovely. Joker Clee says, I wouldn't mind going to the local rock festival this year, but I don't want to have to brave the crowds. But at least they are a lot more respectful than Dauphine Country Fest. Lol. Yeah, lots of people always ask me if I go to the Isle of Wight Festival, and the answer to that is absolutely not. That many people in one space just does not fill me with joy at all. No thanks. Caroline says, Queen, Rainbow, Thin Lizzy for me. We have Gilfest happening in the summer. Can hear some of it in the gardens in the evenings. Nice. HG Cupcake says, I love Tom MacDonald, Man in the Sky. If you haven't heard it, I'd strongly recommend it. It's a beautiful song. I will have a look. Dave in a Rave says, Snappy Beaster. HG Cupcake says it's on YouTube. I will have a look. Thank you. Nimue says, hello everyone. Sorry I'm late. It was my turn to cook. Happy Easter to you too, lovely. Enjoy your dinner, or I hope you enjoyed your dinner. Caroline says, was lucky teen. Dad worked for BBC, so used to go to Top of the Pops. Nice. Charlotte says, we don't have cable or any streaming subscriptions. The few things we actually watch is available through Channel's TV app. Ah, cool. Yeah, I rarely watch regular TV anymore. Like, I can't remember the last time I watched anything on the BBC or ITV. Can't remember. Oh, well, to be fair, Pointless and Richard Osman's House of Games. I watch those with mum and dad fairly frequently because we're usually having dinner when they're on. So, yeah. David Rave says Little Mermaid. Sha-la-la-la-la-la. Yeah, don't be shy. I can't sing at all. I love that. I used to go out with my friends. We were 16, 17 at the time, so how we got into places, I don't know. But we used to go out and we used to stay at Marie-Ange's house because her mum was way more forgiving about us coming in late and being slightly tipsy, and her having like 4 girls sleeping in the front room. Yeah, we always used to put like Disney movie on when we got home and fall asleep to it in the front room. And The Little Mermaid was always my choice when I got to choose. David Arave says, I watched Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory earlier, the new one with Timothy Chalamet. I really, really want to watch that. I watched the first 10 minutes because Sky were doing a kind of like deal where you could have the first 10 minutes of a movie, and it was just like, oh, okay, I want to have a look and see if this looks any good. And I think I'd enjoy that one. So, yeah. Connor Kent says, physical media shall rise again. That's why I still have my Laserdisc collection from the 90s. I still have my DVD collection, even though I don't have a DVD player that works anymore. But yeah, I still have my DVD collection. And I would rather pay money for the physical thing. I would rather pay, because like the amount that it costs to buy a movie on Prime is ridiculously expensive, and it probably would mean that the actual physical thing would be way more expensive, but I would rather do that. Like, I would really, 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 really like to buy all the music that I want on CD. I would love to have a vinyl collection as well, but I don't have room for it at the moment. Who knows, I might win the lottery and then I can have all my physical things out and about, like my books. I have so many books. Yeah. I remember I bought one of the Percy Jackson movies, the first one, I think it was, and I bought the DVD, and it came with, I think it was £2 more expensive, but it came with the digital copy as well. You had like a code that you could put in and you could have the digital copy downloaded, but you'd also had the physical DVD, which I really liked. I wish they'd do that with books, where you could pay a bit extra and have like the physical thing as well as the audiobook. But I mean, I appreciate audiobooks are incredibly expensive to make. I remember when the She Who Will Not Be Named Wizard books came out, they were like £60 for one of the books because they were 40 hours long. But yeah, I would have liked that. Dave in a Rave says, Isle of Wight Festival, I think, was local agriculture before it got all musical. You may know more than me. I have no idea. I know we had Festival, but that moved. Isle of Wight Festival, no idea what its origins are. I have never been. I don't want to go. Those kind of things do not fill me with joy. I would love to see the musicians playing, but I do not want to be in crowds like that. I would not enjoy. Charlotte says, I'm more of a reader than a watcher. I don't read physical books anymore. I listen to them, but because of what I do for like day in, day out with all the eye strain, I don't want to read. I find reading really uncomfortable now. So I listen to audiobooks, and I listen to a lot of audiobooks. I'm currently listening to Quicksilver, which I'm enjoying. And the one that Sunset on the Reaping. if you want to have your heart ripped out, then yeah, read that. I think I told you guys this before, but just in case you weren't here for that conversation, I finished Sunrise on the Reaping, and Mum was away, and Dad called me up for dinner, and I had like 20 seconds left of the epilogue at the end of the book. And I got up to the kitchen, and Dad looked at me. He's like, "You're right," and I just burst into tears. He's like, "Oh my God, are you okay?" I was like, "The book's finished. It's so good." He's like, and I'm literally sobbing, and he's just like, I was like, "It's a really good book." He just looks at me like I'm insane. Yeah, Sunrise on the Reaping, amazing, but honestly, you think you know what's going to happen, or to a degree what's going to happen, because it's a prequel to the original Hunger Games series, but oh my goodness, Suzanne Collins, just why? Who hurt you? Joker Clear says, we had to get satellite TV because our internet service at the time was absolute garbage, and we could only stream YouTube or run WoW at the time without it dying. We could barely stream YouTube or run WoW. Yeah, I remember when I first moved to the island, I tried to download a Marvel movie from Sky, and they were like, "Yeah, it's going to be 54 hours before this 2-hour movie is downloaded for you." It's like, oh. Okay, I gave up on trying to play WoW because yeah, so I haven't played for ages. I miss it. Nimore says, I tried a Facebook find creamy Tucson gnocchi bake. It was very yummy. Will be added to the recipe collection. Ooh, sounds delicious. David Rave says, pointless. Why does Alexander always stand up and Osmond always sit down? I like them both, but rather be stuck in a lift with Osmond. Yeah. I think, I don't know, to be honest. I like the dynamic of it, though. David Rose says, no, the original Chocolate Factory with Gene Wilder, never seen the Depp one. I meant the Timothée Chalamet one, the newest one, because there's been like another one released. Why do they need to keep remaking movies? I think somebody pointed out that at the top 100 movies, you had to go to number 41 before there was an original concept movie. Like, everything was a sequel or inspired by a book, or there was very few original concept movies made, and a lot of the stuff recently has been like sequels or prequels of some sort or another. Elena says, I would love to have Acorn TV subscription, but they only work in Britain, if I remember correctly, because almost all of the series that interest me are from them. You'd need to get something like NordVPN as well, wouldn't you, to spoof your internet provider so that you could look, because apparently if I got that, I could watch American Netflix, and there's some stuff on there that I would like to watch, so maybe I should do that. Laura says, I watched Chitty Chitty Bang Bang and was shocked by the storyline behind it. Can't believe our parents didn't see the underlying story. Mum and Dad took me to see Return to Oz when I was 10, and I remember kids screaming and crying at the cinema during that movie, and I think we stayed and watched all of it because it was an expensive day out at the cinema. But yeah, Return to Oz, my goodness. And like the never-ending story, we were talking about this the other day as well, because Kai looks like Falcor the Luck Dragon, especially when you carry him next to the sea and all of his fluff is blowing in the breeze. He definitely looks like the Luck Dragon flying. But my goodness, like Artak's dying in the swamp of just... And Krull, and there's so many movies back then that were designed for kids that were just devastating. Like, yeah, no, Return to Oz, my God, no, I can't even watch that now. It creeps me out. Joker Clee says, I like physical media because it means that I can make copies of it and save the original, and then I can watch it when the internet is down. Lol, yes. Yes. I always, whenever the internet goes here, and I'm just like, why can't I watch the thing? And it's like, because you haven't downloaded it onto your hard drive, and so it's in the ether. And if the ether disappears, then you're screwed. All of your stuff is gone. Susan says, Celeste was an Instagram find over lockdown. She's an Australian comedian now doing some acting. Worth checking her old Instagram out. I'm having lamb chops. Almost had to get a mortgage with Mint. Ooh, yummy. Nimue says, I have Disney and Prime and don't use it really enough. I do like having DVDs because true ownership is great. And luckily people are catching on. Recently bought the Mummy 1 to 3 because need it. Yes. Susan says, and chili with crispy new potatoes on a bed of rocket. Oh, that sounds delicious. David Arave says, yes, I don't enjoy day-long crowds. It's okay for evening concert or football match, but not all day long. I don't even like them for any amount of time. I am not a crowd person. No, thank you. Charlotte says, I'm currently reading a proof copy of Silver Cloak by Laura Stephen, only 50 pages in, but already gasped twice. Pretty good. I read Sunrise on the Reaping yesterday and also halfway through Quicksilver. Sunrise on the Reaping is brutal. And I think I'm about 4 hours into Quicksilver. I'm enjoying it so far, though. Fox says, just grabbed a coffee, had a big lunch with family. Nice. Laurie says, I have Acorn TV here in Canada, Elena. And Vox says, hope you have a good day if you celebrate. Indeed. David Ray says, yes, it's milking the cow instead of the chocolate. Remaking too many Chocolate Factory movies. Bad joke. Yes. Elena says, newest one is The Origin of the Chocolate Factory and the Oompa Loompas. And that song was so earworm. Oh, okay. So it was a slightly different. I enjoyed the first 10 minutes of it and it made me want to watch it. So yeah. Laurel says Gen X is traumatized by what passed for children's entertainment. Aren't we just? My goodness. Like just yeah, like Watership Down. What was that? My gosh. Bright Eyes was number one the month I was born. And I have a little vinyl single of it. Yeah, it was the number one in the UK the month I was born. But just traumatizing. So much traumatizing stuff. Robin says, Never Ending Story bored me ridges as a kid. Horrific. I love the Never Ending Story. But that poor horse. David Rove says, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, We Love You was filmed actually in England as opposed to Disney, but ironically Dick Van Dyke kept his American accent for that one as opposed to whatever that was for Poppins. I did enjoy the new Mary Poppins. I did like that. But I did love the original. Nimue says, Never Ending Story is heartbreaking but so good. Love the book. Artax's death is even worse in it because the horse can talk. Fair warning, no. I didn't even realize it was a book. No. Who agrees that they need to remake The Princess Bride, but there is a really good premise for the remake of The Princess Bride? Fred Savage, who's the kid in the original, is now the grandpa, and he's reading the book to his sick grandchild. And so the story is the same, but slightly different because the Fred Savage is emphasizing different parts of it and stops in different parts. And yeah, I just love that idea. I really love that idea. I really need them to do that. I really, really need to do that. So, yeah. The other option was that everyone was Muppets, which is obviously also completely valid. But I really, really want them to do The Princess Bride again like that because I just think it would be epic. Oh, so epic. And the only person in the Muppet version, the only person who's real is Fred Savage as the grandpa again. Yeah. Yes, please. But that's only because I absolutely love that movie and watch it on repeat, like Labyrinth as well. I love all the headcanon that goes into the story of Labyrinth and like how, there's been so many Sarahs and Tobys over the years, and that's where all the horde, the kind of like little bag ladies at the end, they're trying to turn her into another bag lady because they're all the Sarahs that failed and didn't manage to make their way through the labyrinth. And yeah, but again, how would you remake that without David Bowie? Oh, yeah, no. I want more. I want more. Elena says to Laurie, I need to check then if it will work in Finland. There will, and a VPN will help if my card is registered here. David Rave says, I hope Dick Van Dyke sees his 100th birthday. He's 99 now. Is he really? Yes, no, he needs to see his 100th birthday. That would be awesome. Laurie says, I got the app via my Roku device. Laurel says, you're in the UK, probably never had to read Where the Red Fern Grows. Utterly heartrending, 6th grade me sobbed. No, never even heard of it. Yeah. Elena says, there are traumatizing the next generation. There is a new Final Destination in cinemas next month. How many is that now? Although I will say, anytime I'm driving down a road and there is a truck with logs on it, I'm just like, we're slowing down a bit. So yeah, final no. Vox says to Elena, I still don't drive behind any truck carrying one. Yep. There's an entire generation of us who see that and just like, nope. Susan says, I'll just say my physical bookshelf is very different from my Kindle. Not willing to share that. Princess Bride is sacred, although the special effects would be epic. I know this is the thing. This is the thing. Like, they can't remake Princess Bride straight. They just can't, because it is the most perfect film ever. It's one of my favorite things ever made. But I really, really love the idea of Fred Savage being the granddad and reading the story slightly differently. And I want, like, I want Buttercup and Wesley, the actors, Carrie Ellis and Robin, I can't remember her surname, but I want them to be featured in it somehow. Like, they could be Miracle Max, the couple, and yeah. And I just love the fact that Billy Crystal was improvising everything. And apparently, Mandy Patinkin actually cracked a rib. He was trying not to laugh so much. And the sword fight, just one of my favorite movies ever. It's just so good. I watched it the other day. I watched Labyrinth the other day. I regularly have those. I've also got Krull. I really liked that. I didn't like Ladyhawke so much. And the Neverending Story, I've got those all on Prime, so technically I own them, but I don't really, because they're just, virtual copies of those things. But Robin Wright, thank you, Joker, please. Yes, I own all of those, and they're usually on repeat down here quite a lot, because I just love them so much. And there's a like, it's not, I don't know if, I think it's a meme. I think you would still call it a meme. But it was like, I love how all my princesses grew up to be generals, and it's got Princess Leia with General Leia, and Robin White, because she was Princess Buttercup, and then she became General of the Amazons in Wonder Woman, and there was a couple of other ones as well. Such a good film. That would be the only acceptable way of them remaking it. Only acceptable way. Sorry. Susan's I am a bit behind. Where did I get to? There we go. Elena says to Vox, I don't drive myself, but that driver will know not to drive behind that lorry. Yes. Joker Clee says that's the books you should read, Where the Red Fern Grows. Jake and the Kid and Owls and the Family were prescribed reading for us in elementary school. I don't want to read them if they're going to traumatize me. Robin says, we're moving back to physical over digital too, including sewing patterns. Yeah, I think I am the only Gen X kid who felt that way about Neverending Story. Would trucks get me every time, though? Jokingly says, and that one about the kid who runs away from home and gets adopted by a family of badgers? I don't know. Susan says, when the Red Fern Grows was the alternative to Princess Diana's funeral on the TV. Oh, no. David Arave says, Sean, have any films and characters and their costumes influenced your design or creativity as a fashion designer? Yes, totally. But I would say more like the Marilyn Monroe, How to Marry a Millionaire, those kind of like costumes are things that I wanted to wear and emulate now. Something that I really, really do want to do, and I've been banging on about this for the longest time, is the ballroom scene from Labyrinth. I want to do a mashup of Jareth and Sarah's outfits. So I want to do like a ball gown, but in the blues and the crystals and the kind of like decaying lace and stuff that Jareth is wearing. I think that would be really cool. Caroline says, love Ladyhawke. I have not watched that very often. I think I've maybe seen it once or twice, and a good sort of 20 years ago. So maybe I need to rewatch that one. Susan says, Hawk the Slayer always cracks me up. That would make a good redo. I've never even heard of that one. And then Laurel says, I'm not getting the wood truck reference. What's it from? Final Destination. Don't watch it. It's terrible. People get premonitions of how they're going to die. One of them is they're driving behind a wood truck. Oh, and so no, I think is it a plane? Somebody gets a premonition that the plane is going to crash, and so they all get off the plane. Not all. There's a group of people that get off the plane, and then death is basically coming for them in more and more elaborate ways the longer they survive. And one way is they're driving down a highway, and there's a wood hauling truck in front of them, and some of the bindings come loose, and then just wood, just badness happens. There's lifts, sunbeds. The sunbed death was hilarious. It gets progressively more ridiculous, and it's one of those movies. I hate those kind of movies. I don't do well with that kind of graphic violence. Having watched Game of Thrones, although I couldn't get into House of the Dragon. I watched the first episode of first 10 minutes of House of the Dragon, and it was just like, I don't want to see this. But I've watched quite a lot of the Final Destination ones because it became comedic more than horrific. At least that's how my brain twisted it to make it watchable for me. But yeah, if you've not seen them, don't watch them. You don't need to. David Rave says those dresses she wore, Norma Jean. The whole cast of How to Marry a Millionaire, like the whole wardrobe of that, and then loads of the Audrey Hepburn movies as well. I had a whole Marilyn collection, 7 Year Itch, Niagara Falls, Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, the outfits in that as well, the suits that she wears in that. Oh, yeah. I would like to make all of those, and sort of 1950s style new look. Dior new look is basically what I kind of want to wear, but I also want to wear bright prints and stuff like that. So I've kind of smooshed the two together, which is why I wear such big skirts. And Devin Ray says that sounds awesome for my Jareth and Sarah mashup. Julian's here. Hello, everyone. Hello. I love how your jacket, your tailoring is coming out. It looks epic. Charlotte says, I prefer my books to be all fantasy. There's already enough real world drama. Give me Empire on the Brink of Destruction and Prophecies of Apocalypses any day. Yeah, I prefer my TV to be in the realms of impossibility, the TV and movies to be like in the realms of impossibility. And also now I'm veering on the side of pretty and like, comedic rather than even a little bit scary, because just no. And the real world is scary enough. Mum and Dad watch a lot of Scandinavian murder mystery kind of stuff, which is, for me, looking at it, always really depressing. And I was trying to get Dad to watch Silo, the Rebecca Ferguson Apple TV one, because I binged that in 2 days. That's like 20 hours of TV in 2 days. It's far too much TV. And I thought it was amazing. And he was like, oh, it looks a bit bleak. And I'm like, my God, you watch Wallander. That's bleak. So, yeah. I do prefer, very much like you, kind of like complete fantasy fae and goblins and out of this, nothing that's ever going to possibly be any kind of like reality. Yeah. Yeah. Laurie says, yeah, that's how it starts on the plane. I remember there's also one that's they want to get off of a roller coaster, or is that the spoof of it? I can't remember. Anyway, don't watch it if you haven't. You don't need to. Those images have lived with me forever. There's certain movie images that I wish I'd never seen, like Event Horizon. I watched that when I was 18, and it's ruined all my good feelings about Sam Neill. Up until then, he was the professor from Jurassic Park in Merlin, and then he's ripping his eyeballs out in a spaceship, and it's just like, I had to sleep with the lights. I was 18 years old when I watched this. I slept with the lights on for a month because I am that much of a child. That movie horrified. It as well. No, watched that when I was 12. Should not have been watching that when I was 12. Scared of clowns. I mean, that's just reasonable, but no. There is some things that you should just not see, and I don't. Yeah, my brain hangs on to those images as well. It won't let them go. Like things that I want to remember, poof, off they disappear. But That, yeah, no. Where did I get to? Megan says, hi, it's my first time here. Hello, welcome. Thank you for joining us. Caroline says, I wish someone would make the Pern books. Oh, yeah. And the Temeraire books. Peter Jackson optioned the Temeraire books, but then made Lord of the Rings, damn him. He was busy and the option ran out. Somebody needs to make Temeraire. And the Pern books would be amazing. Gosh, can you imagine? That would be fabulous. I love that Fourth Wing's being made into a TV series. I cannot wait for that. That's going to be so good. Dave Renarave says there's something so timeless and gorgeous and relative about those vintage, slightly post-war time outfits. Pardon the paradox there. Yeah. No, I love that kind of styling and aesthetic. Unca says, can't watch scary stuff. They give me the nightmares. I love Abby from NCIS, but I had to give up. Oh, yeah. No, I've watched NCIS. I didn't watch Abby. It's Abby. Abby was the name of the tech scientist, wasn't she? Yeah. No, I did watch NCIS. That's about. I like my entertainment fluffy. Basically, I don't want hard hitting drama. I don't want that. The world's awful enough as. Yeah, Anka says Abby is the scientist. Yes. Yeah, no, I want my entertainment fluffy. Dave Narave says, Charlotte, totally true. Read the real world. Foxtrot, that Sierra, eh? FTS, I like that. Connell Kent says, have to make cookies for Easter lunch. Got to bounce. Cheese biscuits. Enjoy and say hi to Erica for me. Give her a squeeze and we'll see you soon. Elena says, Nordic mystery is depressing. British version is better. And my books are just fantasy smut or fantasy murder fest, depending on the mood. Laurie says, my husband always puts on terrible horror movies and promptly falls asleep. They all begin with a cabin in the woods somewhere. Yuck. No, absolutely not. I don't want to be terrified by my entertainment. I want fluffy, romantic superheroes. Like, I don't mind it getting a bit dark, but I want it. Yeah. David Narave says that's why it's awesome to feel and be creative. We find ourselves in a world away from the crummy real one. Yes. Charlotte says Quicksilver is also coming to screen. Oh, cool. I am interested to see that. Laurel says, as a teen, I could do horror movies, but I've lost my ability to deal with to deal. Mama was the last one I watched and it's stuck in my head. No, don't want to know. Don't want to know. Can't do horror movies. Yeah, Event Horizon still in my head. And like I said, I was 18 when I watched that, so that's a good sort of 27, 28 years ago. Blah, nope. Joker Clee says, I'd love to see someone make the Dirk Pitt novels by Clive Cussler into a good movie series, but make them true to the books. Ooh. Susan says, it's why I like Korean dramas. I'm watching The Haunted Palace. Only just started. Mix of historical, supernatural, and a bit of comedy. My sister loved the Pern books. I love the Pern books too. Joker Clee says, Abby's the first forensic tech in the series, and she leaves in season 16. Yeah, there was some issues with the lead, Mark Harmon, wasn't there, I think, and a dog, from what I remember. I loved her. She was awesome. Entertainment fluffy, and you're a supernatural fan. Yeah, but that's fantasy horror, and it's also got those two in it. So there's eye candy. So yeah. I'm a contradiction. I'm a walking contradiction. I appreciate that. Yeah. Supernatural's awesome and epic. And Jensen Ackles, yes, please. Robin says, I have a whole Pinterest board chock full of famous looks I want to create. It's about 60% Marilyn Monroe and wider mid-century outfits. And Dave says, poor you, Laurie, feel for you. Yeah. No cabins in the woods. Joker Lee says, I used to watch watching Criminal Minds, but there were too many episodes in it that made my blood boil far too hard. I can't watch the new one of it. I've watched all, I think it was 16 seasons, and then they've rebooted it. And I tried the reboot, and I just can't do with the because the world is just so blah, and people are actually doing those things in real life. I just can't deal with it. So no, I loved Criminal Minds, and I can't do with the new one. Joker Clee says, yeah, there was a lot of issues between Paulie and Mark, sadly. Laurie says, can't watch Bones. I can watch Bones over and over. The early ones with the sexual tension are the best. Yeah, absolutely. Completely. I love that. The one thing that I have watched recently that has been real life is SEAL Team, because it's David Boreanaz. So I was just like, okay, sure. I'm going to continue with seeing what my angel vampire is up to. And whilst incredibly graphic, and there are some bits in that I had to fast forward over because it was just like, I do not need this image or those sounds, even if I don't watch it, the sounds in my head. I really enjoyed it. I've got like 5 episodes of the last season to watch. So yeah, that's one real life, not cheerful thing that I have watched recently. But a lot of that is because it's David Boreanaz. So yeah. Elena says, and now we can dig up all the plot memes. Nimue says, rule of thumb for CM is be careful when they have big name guests or MGG directs. Criminal Minds, okay. David Rafe says, if someone is trying to scare you with a movie, just bring a nail file and appear totally unfazed, even if you're crumbling on the inside, or bring some hand sewing. Robin says, love a good horror, not those modern crappy jump scare rubbish efforts, though. I hate them. I often listen to Stephen King books falling asleep. I can't do Stephen King. I can't. Jacob Clee says, Bones rocks, so does SEAL Team. Awesome. I have so many questions. Is ready. And to say goodbye, because it's time. Dad's just texting